How else are we supposed to get dopamine? Where else is our serotonin supposed to come from except from Kevin Feig's nipples?
Moving buildings, flying, new things, the river crossing, oh no, over the sea, horses over the sea.
Game of Thrones, game.
Sean Bean dies.
I'm Red Scott.
And I'm Ivan Hernandez.
And this is Boards, Gore, and Swords.
Covering the second episode of the third Marvel series coming to Disney Plus, Loki. Laufey's son, because he's a frost giant, because he is the actual mythological Loki character.
I am still recording this wearing a mask because I don't want to be exposed to these variants. That's right. Season 1, Episode 2, The Variant. Written by Alyssa Karasik, as well as creator Michael Waldron, and directed by Kate Herron.
This is another episode of Loki. And I'm waiting for the moment that you punch out of this narrative because so much of it is obviously setting up future MCU events.
If I don't know about the obvious MCU events they're setting up, I'm like, oh, what's this future self-contained world that's happening?
Do you even know what the subtitle of Doctor Strange 2 is?
How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the MCU?
Multiverse of Madness.
You've said some version of madness so many times on this podcast.
Of Madness. I know I bring up the Madness a lot, but they're a good band.
We are recording at our house in the middle of our street.
Your house in the middle of 23rd Street.
As long as we are recording this podcast in this podcast studio, it's our house, buddy.
It's the house that Ivan and Red built.
Listen, there's a lot happened, but before we go into it, we need to know what happened previously on Loki.
Unlike the ABC shows, this MCU Endgame footage will not run out our licensing budget. I hereby arrest you for being a dangling plot point meant to hang a spin-off series on. Everybody loves a 2-minute animated sequence inserted into a live-action show, but when it's time to watch a cartoon, Josh Fadem getting vaporized does metaphorically signal the demise of the mid-00s to early 10s LA comedy scene. They're dropping that Laufey son to remind you that he's a frost giant because he's the mythological Loki. Red, were you a Norse mythology guy back in the day?
Oh, I was not.
Good, you fucking racist.
I just said I wasn't. Is it racist not being a fan of Norse mythology? Were you a big Norse mythology guy?
I was, but I'm a brown person, so it's okay for me.
No, I think you're taking other people's culture as your own.
I'm appropriating Norwegian culture. Time passes differently without a Fantastic Four to say everything happened at the start of and then go 10 years from. Infinity Stones. Yeah, we got a bunch of loot crates. They're mostly garbage. Is this the greatest power in the universe? The Disney Corporation? Yes. Also, did you notice the devil has a blue tongue from eating gum and then swallowing it where it gets stuck in their colon for years? Maybe I can offer you something better. Not having to be next to a Chris Hemsworth to have your muscles compared to. And you need the god of mischief to help you stop him. Yes, that was the pitch. The variant we're hunting is...
capitalism.
You! And that was previously on Loki.
It's so good to have a previously on back. I've missed them.
Isn't it? So at this point, when I hear the Marvel fanfare, I'm just like, get that shit out of the way. Get that fucking cat out of the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't care about it anymore.
You were here to watch it, and I was like making notes, so I let it play all the way through. It is helped by having the surround sound set up.
Would you rather hear something that you don't enjoy in surround sound or mono or stereo?
It's mixed well.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather hear a technical demo done in 5.1 surround. I just watched the Doug Liman Chaos Walking movie.
How was that? Because that was one of those movies that was on a shelf for a while.
And for good reason.
It's because it's stupid?
It is such a conceptually interesting movie that's a complete failure in every way that you could possibly measure, but except for incredible 5.1 surround sounds. Just like absolutely rattling the walls, nature everywhere, stuff going between the speakers. I recommend it. For people listening, Chaos Walking, made off of a hit book, features fucking...
starring Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley.
With fucking Mads Mikkelsen as the villain.
And how great is he as a villain?
Great director, great actors, popular story. What could go wrong? Everything. Everything can go wrong.
Everything. Listen, when a studio puts that big a movie on the shelf for that long, it's like they're looking for the best time to drop it to recoup their investment.
And that is exactly what happened.
Yes. So, Red, this is an incredible, momentous occasion for the MCU. We get the Marvel Cinematic Universe debut of Kate Berlant at a Renaissance fair.
Kate Berlant, credited as Ren Fair Woman.
I cannot say enough how funny Kate Berlant is as a human being, also a witch, also possibly psychic.
I'm very happy for Kate Berlant. She was also in the big Hollywood movie, which was directed by Feet Guy.
Quentin Tarantino.
Correct. Where she appeared as...
By the way, the big Hollywood movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They really should have called it the big Hollywood movie.
Yeah, put me in charge. If it's a name I can remember, it's going to be a name anyone can remember. But I am a little bit concerned that one of our great comedians is going to go off into a greater acting career and leave comedy behind.
Yeah, that's what they all want to do. Why would anybody want to do stand-up comedy? It's disgusting.
They're following the path blazed by Richard Belzer.
Yes.
And Michael Keaton.
The Bells. How many people even remember that Michael Keaton was a stand-up comedian?
Oh, nobody. It's very funny to look up. Just pick any 80s or early 90s actor or actress and type their name and Carson into YouTube. And if a stand-up set comes up, it's going to be delightful. I forget if it was Biff or the guy or the other actor who kind of looks like
Wilson.
Biff, who performed stand-up with a sousaphone on the Carson show.
That's very funny.
Oh, it was funny to watch. I don't know if his jokes were hitting. Could you imagine going to fucking the Comedy Store to do your 7 and you're like, gotta grab my sousaphone?
Yeah. Haven't you seen any terrible musical comedians in your entire career who have elaborate setups that they have to spend way too long getting onto the stage?
No, not even once.
Kidding me. You're kidding me. Also, I really love her line, which I feel is definitely a meta commentary on actors being cast in MCU shows. Some of us need this, you know.
The official line of the MCU fandom.
Some of us need this. How else are we supposed to get dopamine? Where else is our serotonin supposed to come from except from Kevin Feig's nipples?
It's a...
What? You don't think that all of these little MCU heads would just love to suckle off Kevin Feig's 6 nipples that he just has running down his chest in a row?
That explains his just iron fist over this franchise, that he's just producing dopamine directly from his body. Mm-hmm. It took me a moment to realize that the previous Yon voice was Miss Minutes. Is that the name?
Tara Strong, a classic voice actor.
Well, yeah, but the previously on is the animated character in the info dump in the show.
Yeah, and she shows up as a little hologram, which I was like, Loki, you can split the difference between recording in real life and know about artificial intelligence.
That was a very weird thing where he's like, I haven't been to the future. And it's like, buddy, yeah, come on.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of artificial intelligence, did you watch that documentary I told you to watch?
I'm going to watch it. I'm excited
to watch that fucking documentary. It's from the Room 237 guy. A Glitch in the Matrix.
Okay. Tell the people about it.
It's a documentary on Hulu from the director of Room 237, one of the great commentary documentaries of all time about The Shining, which features my all-time favorite scene in any documentary, where a guy very, very confidently says that a thing is in a scene in The Shining, and then they show that scene and it is absolutely not there. One of the greatest pieces of documentary making ever. And he made A Glitch in the Matrix, which is a documentary about simulation theory, about all of the people who think that they are living in a simulation, and it goes into all of it. It is a very sprawling documentary. Some might say that some of the, it definitely goes into all of the many ideas that you can develop from simulation theory, and it definitely casts a judgment upon those people, which you can't help but when you start hearing them talk for more than 5 minutes.
Certainly, it's a multiverse of madness.
It truly is, which, by the way, you're gonna have to watch that movie now.
I am going to have to watch Multiverse of Madness and this documentary. Do they stick with the, crazies who go to the conventions, or do they talk about some of the rich people running weird experiments?
They talk about some of the rich.
Yeah.
There are so many fucking gross rich people who show up. Elon's in it. Fucking Notch.
I haven't heard the phrase Notch. Yeah, one of the great children's game producers.
Oh, man, isn't that crazy how
What
you
a
can
weird world.
produce a beloved children's game and be a terrible putrid personality who uses the literal billions he received from the Microsoft Corporation to fund extremist right-wing politics.
I can't wait till he gets canceled in 80 years. He's going to be the Dr. Seuss of his generation.
So, A Glitch in the Matrix, good documentary on Hulu. Look it up.
So we open on Renaissance music playing, which I have to say I did not anticipate.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'm pretty sure I have a crush on the lead girl time hunter from possibly seeing her in a previous show or just because she's a kind of sickly looking brunette.
She is C20 in this? I believe Hunter C20?
Mm-hmm. I feel like Shrek has poisoned the minds of mainstream culture. We get the We Need a Hero fight scene, which I feel like having it be so close to the opening of the show lessened the impact and definitely made it seem more like what this really is, the 6-hour movie that we should just be waiting 6 weeks to watch at one time.
You say there are 6 episodes, which, knowing you, there's up to 10 episodes.
Look, that was one time that Wikipedia lied to me. Wikipedia has never lied to me in any other situation whatsoever.
And also, it's not crazy like WandaVision, but it's like 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
6 episodes aren't actually an hour long. There's nowhere near a 6-hour movie.
That's fair. They just used We Need a Hero in the premiere trailer for the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which definitely goes to show that left hand and right hand at Marvel are not speaking to each other whatsoever. Or that they just got the blanket licensing rights for this song and we're like, hey, anybody wants it? You got a fight scene. We're good to go.
So the variant hunters arrive in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, 1985, which I did not know was an actual place. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I've just seen it in media a lot. I'm starting to believe that the maypole never existed.
Oh, people don't go around it?
I don't think anybody has. I think that was a myth somebody made up in a children's book in the 19th century, and the maypole isn't a real thing.
I have only ever seen maypoles in the context of, like, The Wicker Man. Like, anytime, like, there's, like, a creepy white cult, they always have a bunch of kids around a maypole.
It's never a positive thing. And where are you going to find that many kids that coordinated? Like, no, there's going to be dumb kids. They're going to run into each other. They're going to ruin the braid. And then some parents are going to end up doing the maypole for them.
So we get, I always love a little Pit Boy-ass little PDA thing. A little kind of...
A little Pit Bull-ass PDA?
Pip Boy.
Ah, okay.
From Fallout.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. you don't love a little piece of like a kind of anachronistic technology where it's like, they should have a better interface than this.
What is it about interfaces where like spy shows and like science fiction is just trapped in that 60s and 70s look? They have CRT TVs. Is this counterpart?
How stupid and unstylish is Windows?
It's very
the Windows-based interface.
No, you stick with Unix or DOS 3.1. That's as high up as you can go.
You want to be typing into a little pad on your like wrist gauntlet.
You want a slightly modified Game Boy glove.
Yes, Power Glove.
Power Glove.
You want a Power Glove?
Yeah, Game Boy Glove is not what that is.
It's the Power Glove. It was for the NES.
No matter what happens as time goes on, no matter what we do, no matter how we advance as a society, any decent program will still have a clear cache option on it. That's what I like to know. 3 options on this run program, options, and clear cache. Those are the 3 things you can do.
Can I run Maniac Mansion on it?
I don't know, but you can clear the cache. People won't know that you ran Maniac Mansion on it.
Another thing that the term variant is a reference to, which I do not believe I mentioned on the last episode, it's a reference to variant covers, aka the incentive covers that are like holographic or like a different artist that Marvel uses, that all comic book companies use to incentivize people to collect their stupid paper issues.
So, oh man, when this was a comic book run, they had like 50 covers per episode, didn't they?
Actually, I feel like the J. Michael Straczynski run did have a bunch of variant covers to launch.
Of course.
Yeah.
When something is profitable and a legitimate thematic tie-in, you can just see.
I mean,
you can steepled fingers.
So the runs that this is basing a lot of, I'm not sure if I did mention it on Twitter. It is going off of Al Ewing and Lee Garbutt's Loki, Agent of Asgard, which is the most recent one, the Kieran Gillen Journey into Mystery series, which comes out of the J. Michael Straczynski Thor run, because J. Michael Straczynski couldn't keep a comics writing schedule, so Kieran Gillen had to come in and pinch hit until he got his own run on the Loki book. This might end with Asgard being reborn in Broxton, Oklahoma, if they're sticking with the J. Michael Straczynski Thor storyline. Loki's going to be a lady at some point.
I mean, I did watch to the end of this episode.
So that's not Lady Loki. That is Amora the Enchantress.
Sorry. Lady Loki is a very funny phrase.
Lady Loki. She was Loki was a sexy lady. Loki was a sexy lady.
No.
What's so funny about that?
No, you said Loki was
Loki was a sexy lady.
That's what you said.
Loki was a sexy gal.
There's nothing funny about the phrase Loki was a sexy lady.
Loki was a sexy lady.
That's just true. But Loki
was a sexy gal.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about laughing about that.
So in the J. Michael Straczynski run, which came after Marvel had basically put Thor on ice for a while because the book was selling so badly.
Yeah. Again, another comic book property that before this MCU run, like, who wanted to read about just a guy on steroids?
Yeah, they literally killed Thor, and for like 4 to 5 years, no Thor was in the Marvel Universe. And then they brought Thor back, and it sold very well because they actually got the lesson that sometimes a character needs to be retired after being burnt out by having too much of a focus on him for too long.
Sometimes a creator sets off a bomb in the timeline, and you just need to take some time to clean it up before you start anew.
So, yeah, Lady Loki is a pre-existing character who we'll probably see at some point, but this is Amora the Enchantress, I believe, who is one of the classic Thor villains who's always trying to fuck Thor. Her whole thing is like...
Wait. Like, really?
Yes.
Yeah. She's just thirsty for Thor?
Yeah. Her whole thing is like, I'm gonna force Thor to marry me. And like for every other issue, she's like, I'm gonna figure out a way to get Thor to give me the dick. She also had a relationship with the Karl Urban character from Thor Ragnarok. So basically the relationship between like Hela and him in that movie is kind of what Enchantress and him have in the comics.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's basically like the manipulative Asgardian goddess lady who's always trying to be like, Thor, give me the dick.
And this is her first entry into MCU canon.
This is her first appearance in the MCU. There have been a lot of Asgardian characters who were introduced and killed on screen in Ragnarok, but also there's Sif, played by that lady Jamie Alexander, who appeared in the first 2 Thor movies and then had a TV series. Just she never appeared in another one.
A big problem with the MCU at this point is when you introduce a newly powerful person, that it becomes more and more absurd that nobody's mentioned them up until this point.
She's never been mentioned because presumably she is...
well, because 10 years ago you were like, no, we don't need the Enchantress.
No. Exactly.
We're never going to be so far out on a goddamn ledge that we're like, you know what, give us the Enchantress. That's not going to happen at any point, and yet here we are.
Yeah, there's that whole fight scene. Are you recording or are you alive? They show the little holographic alt Lokis, but none of them were actual references to.
Oh, they weren't.
Yeah,
I'm shocked by that. I wrote down.
I was too. I was like, this is that. I've seen a lot of alternate Lokis, and these didn't look like any of the specific ones.
Okay,
they might be like obscure references, but like I did not offhand recognize any of them.
So. Well, first of all, do you have some good examples of some ridiculous Lokis that you remember?
Oh, God. Fucking, I'm pretty sure that there was a frog Loki because... You don't know about Frog Thor? Frog?
I've heard, you know what? I have heard.
You've heard about Throg. You've heard about Frog Thor.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's been a fucking ton of all... Honestly... Tom Hiddleston Loki doesn't look like classical Loki. He just looks like a fucking shitty, ugly guy. He's literally just like a shitty 40-year-old ugly guy who's just like got like sallow, gross cheeks and is just constantly going like, I'm going to fuck up the Avengers.
Listen, if it wasn't for Twitter, I wouldn't know this, but there's a lot of women who like a guy that you can feed soup to.
Women love to feed a guy soup. Women love to heat up a can of Progresso and just spoon it into a guy's mouth.
And he is certainly filling that gap.
Yeah. When he got snippy about the specifics of his power set, I thought that was pretty funny. Also, a hint, because enchanting, buddy. She's the Enchantress.
She is the Enchantress. I did get that. I do want to mention that possibly the highest usage MCU cosplay going forward is going to be the variant jacket over literally anything.
Isn't it great when these comic book movies introduced like the casual look for a hero and suddenly everybody wears that fucking casual look?
If you're listening to this right now and you are somebody who has a hard time picking up a costume, I'm sure for like $20 you can get like a Dickies Eisenhower jacket, print variants across the back, and guess what? You're going to be able to have a Halloween costume at a moment's notice every year.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Marvel's already been sending merchandise to all of the fucking influencers for the TVA.
Me, out Halloween. It's like, what are you? I'm a fat Irish Thor variant. No matter what you are. Ivan,
honestly,
if you put on a variant jacket, what would you be a variant of?
Mark Ruffalo.
I like it. Tall Mark Ruffalo variant.
Yes, and I would be constantly recalling my comments about Israel.
The tall Latin Mark Ruffalo variant. I like it. This would be genius.
Why didn't we come before the attack? Because it's a plot point.
People listening to this, please hit us up at Boys Gore Swords and tell us what variant we would be. I want to know.
I like that.
I want to know.
3 units until red line. Never tell us how long a unit is. Never tell anybody any specifics about your weird genre system of measurements.
Well, it's half a parsec.
First of all, parsec is an actual thing.
I'm sure it is. I've had it explained to me. I understood it at one point, and then Star Wars like did that thing where they like retconned it, where they were just like, actually, it's distance, but it's like how tight you could run it. So that's why it's clearly they meant it as a time in the original script, and then they retconned it to be that.
I do appreciate that Loki is very much a scammer, and the most classical characteristic of any scammer, hates other scammers.
He's like, these dishonest. Do you know how hard it makes it to scam these honest people?
Yes.
With your dishonesty?
I love that he became bad at acting in that one moment where he was trying to lay the groundwork for tricking people. It's all part of the prestige.
Oh my gosh. How are they going to fit the prestige into the MCU? But also, it was really subtle. Like, I was watching that, and as somebody who doesn't know anything about acting, like, I was like, this is bad, and I can tell that he's doing this badly, but I can't explain why. I don't understand it.
Because you're a mark.
I am a mark.
Yes,
I'm very gullible.
Absolutely the kind of person that Loki would trick.
If a planet full of me, Loki would live like a king god. He would not need to. He would not need to resort to any of this other shenanigans. He would exploit me until the end of time.
So I really feel at this point Marvel Studios just bought like the Adobe After Effects suite for energy fields. And they're just like, we gotta use all of these fucking energy fields.
We gotta get our money's worth out of these energy fields.
Yeah. Why do you get all of my stuff? Because I approve the missions. Typical management class. Taking all of the glory that the hard-working worker on the ground reaps for them.
Wait, what scene was that from?
From Owen Wilson and Ravonna Renslayer.
Oh, right. The two of them together is very interesting. And I'm honestly a little bit lost where we are, but I want to talk about this. So Renslayer and Mobius together. Mm-hmm. So the Timekeepers are fake, right? They don't exist or are dead.
No, the Timekeepers, I believe one of them is supposed to be King, who is, Jonathan Majors cast already in the next fucking stupid Ant-Man movie. But I kept expecting the Living Tribunal to pop out. Which, the minute I saw a fucking thing with 3 heads in the Marvel Universe, I was like, this is the fucking Living Tribunal. So I'm kind of on another entire cosmic sphere than this series.
I mean, the weird thing is, I feel like growing up, there was so much media that was kind of low-key, like, atheist. Just like, you were taught this myth, but it turns out it's not real. But we're already in a universe that has fucking Thanos and Asgard. Yeah. So it's like, why wouldn't the Timekeepers be real? It seems like it would be strange at this point for the Timekeepers to not be real.
Yeah, but, who knows?
Who knows?
Exactly. It'll probably be one of those classic bureaucracy. They've been, even though the heads of the management have been decapitated, the body still flails about.
So the most terrifying subtitle of all time was when we entered the scene, theremin music. No!
Oh no, not the theremin.
Some stone guy is going to try and play some solo on this stupid thing.
Is Darren Aronofsky movie starting?
I would enjoy that. I do like Darren Aronofsky.
By the way, you know what his middle name is?
John?
Aaron.
No. Darren Aronofsky?
Darren Aronofsky. Aaron Aronofsky.
Only somebody with a name that silly would be capable of producing Ass to Ass.
Only that guy.
He's the guy his whole childhood who was just like, no, I'm a serious movie and film person, and I will show you with my disgusting Ass to Ass scene.
Sometimes you get tired of playing the same part for over a dozen movies. How many fucking appearances of his Loki has this guy put in? No wonder he wants his fucking own series to be able to do something different with it.
So, Mobius, Owen Wilson's character.
Mm-hmm.
Two things. One, I've always been fine with Owen Wilson. I'm a genuine Owen Wilson fan.
I like Owen Wilson. I'm glad to see him having a good time.
He's having a great time. He's knocking it out of the park. I love the character of Mobius so far. I hope they don't ruin it. I've enjoyed him so much these first couple episodes. And number two, do you have any theories about who Mobius is? I mean,
He is that character.
He is that character. You don't think there's he's actually somebody else, or he's gonna somehow...
No, I think that he is just that character because he's that character in the comics, and it is very specifically a tribute to Mark Grunwald, the great Marvel editor, so I don't think that they're going to do, a double reveal. I am more interested in who's the other analyst that's reporting to Ravonna. Is this going to be an actual established character, or is it going to be the fucking engineer friend all over again?
That's a great point. It could be the engineer friend all over again. Might not matter at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's great about WandaVision is it taught us to not look too deep into these things.
Exactly. I did love when the WandaVision head writer, showrunner was just like, listen, you guys put a lot of effort into these fan theories.
He's like, we have 1 weekend to write these scripts.
Is there anything better than an Englishman condescendingly fixing another man's tie? As was spoofed in Kimmy Schmidt.
It is the biggest power move. In fact, it's such an explicit power move. It feels like that could start like a war between South and North England.
Ice Runt, because he's a frost giant. As in the original mythology. A lot of this stuff is directly from the original mythology, which I do love.
An interesting thing I am for another podcast I'm working on, reading and watching Twilight. And something that surprised me is the first one didn't have a huge budget. And
Catherine Hardwicke did what she could with what she had.
And I'm reminded that when it is a lower budget, the adaptation is going to be more direct.
Yes.
Because, I mean, they just don't have the kind of time to do something more elaborate than that. And I'm like, wow, this is like...
Yeah, a little sparkly. Oh, they're playing baseball. Oh, he's going to get hit by a car.
Yeah, and so the less time you have, the more you're going to get just a direct adaptation. Mm-hmm. The movies, also because you have to cram so much into so much less time.
Are you reading the Twilight books?
I'm reading the Twilight first book.
Okay. Well, and then we're going to see how much of a fan you become?
You say you're a feminist, but how about you connect yourself with one of the biggest bestsellers
with one of
women.
Our greatest women authors of all time, this fucking weirdo.
It's a weird book. They make a lot of weird choices. Very, very excited about announcing this upcoming podcast. You can hear some of the episodes we've already recorded on the Patreon, patreon.com/boysgoreswords. We're going to launch within the next couple weeks. We're waiting on some artwork, and then, yeah, it's going to be out there.
How nice was that Brutalist Infinite Space?
I love did you get like Defending Your Life vibes? Did you think Albert Brooks was going to roll in?
Okay, so that is another one of the established reference points that they're going with.
Defending Your Life?
Yes.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, that is another one of the things that they mentioned as being a specific influence, which is amazing fucking... I love Defending Your Life. Great movie. I love Albert Brooks.
I mean, I think Have
you watched Crossing America or whatever, the one with him and Julie Haggerty?
I don't think I have.
It's so good. Have you watched Real Life?
I have watched Real Life. Real Life is very good.
One of the most prescient pieces of comedy filmmaking that has ever been created.
I appreciate Albert Brooks more as an adult because the thing about his work...
Metacomedy.
But it's wildly uneven.
Oh, you're not a fan of The Muse?
It's wildly uneven, and it's because he takes big swings. And you know what happens when you take big swings? Sometimes you miss.
Listen, I would rather see a guy take big swings and miss than take no swings at all.
Right. I didn't appreciate that as a teenager. I'd be like, what the fuck is happening in this movie? And now I'm just like, I love it. And the highs are so high, and you can just watch those. Mm-hmm. Defending Your Life. Check that movie out. It's a good one. It's weird.
Real Life. Check that movie out. Amazing. So prescient about reality television and how it has affected the media landscape.
Something I find deeply funny is having a god, a greater being, doing any menial task, like just doing research in a library. I just like the idea of Jesus having to do paperwork. That's super fun.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to get a snack is actually Owen Wilson breaking character to go to the craft services table.
There's nothing that I think is a credit to the people on set more than when an actor riffs a hilarious line and everybody keeps it together so they can use the take.
So we get a bunch of references. Ragnarok. Remember that movie that we saw?
I do remember that movie. It was very good.
Yeah, you remember the one Thor movie everyone actually likes?
I do remember that movie. It is the only Thor movie that's worth a goddamn.
So the destruction of Asgard by Surtur, which happened in Ragnarok. Are you familiar with it? Great movie. And here's the thing. I have to agree with Loki. You should salt your salad.
Nope. It's gross.
Flavor. It's flavor. Not that much. But you should salt your salad.
I've eaten a lot of meals with Ivan, and I would say probably our biggest standing disagreement is the appropriate amount of salt to put on anything.
All of it. How much salt are they going to offer me? I'll use it all. I pour it into my pockets.
It's terrifying.
I grind it directly into my mouth.
It's like you could be at a nice restaurant and they like salted it themselves, like professional chefs. And Ivan's just like, why'd you hold back on the fucking salt?
Every time I order salt-crusted fish, I'm just like, leave the crust.
It's disgusting. One thing I want to mention is, if you notice, on the file that they have, which is just, a research file that they pulled out manila folder, it has Destruction of Asgard, but it's stamped.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing about stamps. You don't just produce them all willy-nilly. You're like, we have to mark this file with Destruction of Asgard so often that we had to go and have a stamp produced.
It's Ragnarok. It happens on a cycle.
They are just stamping shit Destruction of Asgard every week. It's close at hand. They didn't have to open a drawer to pull out that stamp.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's Asgard. It is destroyed in the cycle of Ragnarok. Constantly.
Speaking of which, there's less than 10,000 people in Asgard?
I believe it was 10,000 casualties because a lot of them ended up getting into that ship that was destroyed by Thanos at the start of Endgame.
There's only a couple thousand people on that ship.
War, yeah.
Why are we spending so much time? This is like a tiny little, this is basically Button Willow. This is a rest stop along I-5.
There weren't that many people on Asgard. It was like fucking Cornwall or something. But everyone had like a big hammer or something.
Asgard is not like the TVA. I don't care about the mythology or how many people were there until now. And now I'm concerned that we've spent way too much time talking about this place that does not matter.
Take me to Ragnarok, back during that movie past summer. It was so good. I saw Ragnarok in New York City theaters fucking twice in 1 week.
I just realized that much like we tell the story of the origins of modern hip hop as being the blackout, where people just smashed all the windows, stole all the DJ equipment, and started all these major artist careers.
The onset of socialism among the youth was precipitated by the vision that we were given by MoviePass.
That was when I learned everything that I needed to know. I was watching 3, 4, sometimes 5 movies a day. That's where I got my real education.
God, it was truly a blessed time.
What is the most number of movies you've seen in a theater in a single day?
Probably 4.
What? 4?
No, it might be longer because I've done the New Beverly, one of those New Beverly marathon. I didn't do the all-night marathon, but I've done the fucking late-night marathons.
The marathons, I feel like there's a separate category for individual entrances into different theaters in a single day.
Oh, into different theaters.
Right. I mean, so you're movie passing, I would assume.
Yeah. So, yeah. No,
or at 1,000 Van Ness jumping theaters.
No, I've fucking jumped theaters. I've seen 4 or 5 movies in one day jumping theaters. Did I ever tell you the time I was at Van Ness? I was jumping theaters. I swear to God, as I was leaving, I saw like the ushers start to like form up behind me. They were on walkie-talkies. I swear to God, I heard one of them go, "We got a hopper," as I was like going down the escalator to leave. And they were like at the tops of the escalators, like, they're making sure that I'm leaving.
You're saying like if you're on one of these record-breaking 5 movie days at Thousand Van Ness,
I would get my legitimate ticket and I would go up and down the corridors of each floor to note what other movies were playing and when. I would always make sure to hang out around the floor that didn't have the concession stand active.
oh, that's important.
Yeah.
Because if you're imagining a normal movie theater, if you're from most of the United States, there's a huge lobby that branches off from there. But with Thousand Van Ness, there's like 4 different floors.
Yeah.
And so you can go to different floors and then people won't see you for a while. And then you can look like you're leaving, but you're just going to a different floor.
Exactly.
They would have no idea what was happening. And so every comic in the San Francisco scene, I mean, you would feel cheated if you only saw one movie per ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus AMC Van Ness could be kind of disgusting at times. So you definitely wanted to maximize your value.
So how early are you getting there for a 5 movie day?
Jesus, probably around like 1, 2.
Okay, and then so we're saying like 2 hours for a movie, like so you're.
Buddy, I've been in theaters for a while.
Man, that's wild.
I love to sit my big fat ass down and watch a movie, and then watch another movie, and then watch another movie, and then watch another movie. Nothing makes me fucking happier than that shit. I will not do one of those insane like watch the entire MCU before the new MCU movie marathons. Those are ridiculous. When they were having the watch the entire MCU before Endgame marathons, and people were like marking out when they would go during which movies, and it was like the minute that second Thor movie, everyone's taking a big shit. It's like, I'm not going to go to that. The Lord of the Rings marathons, it's like, I barely have enough tolerance for the fucking Lord of the Rings movies as it is being able to watch them at home. I'm not going to watch fucking the entire extended cuts for 9 hours in the theater with a bunch of these nerds.
He's hiding in apocalypses. So we get this cool story that I actually thought was kind of clever, that he was literally hiding during apocalypses because nothing anybody does during an apocalypse affects the timeline. So their timeline meter doesn't show that anything's happened or that anybody's there. Genius. I like it.
I like that. I like that little bit of time travel stuff. And when they went to Pompeii, I really hoped that they would show those 2 guys blowing each other.
A better cinematic universe would have had.
The 2 guys blowing each other cinematic universe.
And
we get more proof that Tom Hiddleston definitely had to take at least one Latin course in his weird English education.
I bring you all dark tidings. 79 AD. Did anything bad happen in Pompeii in 79 AD? Was there something bad happening there? I don't remember. I don't know that much about it. Is that when they invented tomato sauce instead of cream pasta? I don't know what's going on.
So this is about the moment where I realized, wait, they're just doing fucking Doctor Who.
Oh, you didn't know that last time?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew it, but
We even have a British guy in charge.
yeah, this time I was definitely like, they're doing Doctor Who.
I'm sure several times somebody's like, and here's his new hat. And they were like, we're not giving him a hat.
We're not giving him that fez.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so as somebody who, in his life, has ridden quite a few jet skis, I gotta agree, it's pretty fun.
we have both ridden jet skis.
Yeah, I'm a Florida boy, so that explains my family had jet ski access.
Oh, yeah. No, my family is white trash boat people. We go on lakes.
Oh, you're California white trash boat people?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, interesting.
Somebody in the extended family has always owned a ski boat. Somebody in the extended family has always owned a Sea-Doo.
Is that always the Sea-Doo uncle?
Yeah, oh, yeah. My dad's cousin.
Yes.
His name's Steve. As you would guess.
Pepe.
Who created you, Loki? This is a great scene. This point has been made everywhere, but if you just try and describe any religion, any mythology, I mean, even your own personal history, it just always sounds insane. And both of them, Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, do an incredible job of feeling very confident about their description of their own mythology while it sounds fucking batshit insane.
This goes to prove that comic books are the new modern mythology, in that, just like the old mythology, they're fucking stupid. Yeah, Loki was a frost giant who was raised by Odin. Fucking this guy was created by timekeepers. It's the exact same thing. It's fucking stupid.
Existence is chaos. Free will is an illusion. We are all just biological machines.
When he got into the fucking free will stuff, you know what? I'm Team Loki, baby. We're proving free will exists.
Ivan grabbed a glass, threw it at my TV, which fortunately, it's small enough and he has terrible aim.
I literally can't hit outside of 65 inches. I need that extra 10 inches of space to hit.
The absolute earnestness in Mobius's voice when he's talking about the timekeepers, like knitting the future. And I'm like, you sound like an insane person. And he's just like, no, it's a beautiful myth and I choose to believe it. And I'm like, I believe that you know how insane you sound, yet are comfortable with it. And I think that makes you a very interesting character. I think that was a great choice in the script and great performance as an actor. I love Owen Wilson in this show.
I'm loving Owen Wilson in this. He's fantastic. I really loved. Don't you have candy in Asgard? Yeah, grapes, nuts, nature's candy.
Grape nuts.
Grape nuts.
It's the most delicious candy that's ever existed.
So we go to 2050, nearing the established canon of Marvel 2099.
So I have to mention, I'd never heard of Roxcart.
Okay, Roxcart is a reference to Roxxon, which is the classic evil Marvel corporation. You might have seen them in Spider-Verse. I believe that they are the evil corporation that Doc Octopus is working for in Spider-Verse.
Roxcart is presented to us in this show as a Walmart.
Yes.
And I also, because it has two X's in it, I thought initially it might be a women's clothing store. That turned out not to be the case.
It is the classic evil Marvel corporation that they trot out whenever they need an evil corporation. It proves to be major nemesis to Thor in the comic, in the current Thor comics, as the current CEO is a Minotaur.
A Minotaur.
A Minotaur.
I get that you can draw a Minotaur. It's cool.
That Minotaur looks pretty fucking cool. He transforms into a gross fucking Minotaur and fights Thor. It's pretty fun.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know that it is.
Dario Agger transforms into a giant fucking Minotaur, fights Thor. It's a real fun time. So, aren't these incoming climate apocalypses going to be fun? Isn't it going to be great when we're all fucking 6 feet underwater?
So this is a hurricane.
2050. We're going to live that long, buddy.
We've learned that the variant is hiding in apocalypses. So everybody has to die for them to be hiding in this place. So we know that everybody's going to die at this hurricane in 2015 in Haven Safe Place, Alabama. It had such an ironic name. I mean, Ivan, we are going to be alive in 2050, and there's going to be terrible weather events, but you understand that this isn't actually the future, right?
No, buddy.
This is
in
the MCU.
If this podcast lasts until 2050,
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Can't wait for us to die in a climate apocalypse and for me to be like, told you.
I mean, we will be live podcasting that climate apocalypse, holding hands, singing extremes more than words. Honestly, though, Ivan,
what?
If I imagine you in a climate apocalypse,
buddy, I've lived during a hurricane. That is a climate apocalypse.
Tell me you don't die trying to get azaleas half off during the hurricane sale.
Okay, in 2050, if they're selling weed plants in a Walmart and they're doing a hurricane sale, I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to stock up. So you noticed it. Cop Robot.
They had
the actual current era Cop Robot, which, by the way, if you see the Cop Robot, you are obligated as a human being to destroy it.
I feel like most people must not have seen these, but literally patrolling in like places like San Francisco is they will have like egg-shaped, think Wall-E styled, like 5 feet tall, self-powered Segway cop robots that are like filming stuff. I don't even know what they're capable of, but they are terrifying.
Not capable of much. You've seen that photo of the one that got trapped in the water?
No.
In a mall?
Not.
Yeah.
Trapped, like surrounded by water?
Somebody like pushed it into a fountain and it's just like in the water, just like dying slowly, as it should. Because literally all those things are is a fucking mobile surveillance unit.
They are and I'm sure they cost like $20,000.
Absolutely. You saw the Boston Dynamics dog that the NYPD bought and then had to return after everyone said it was disgusting and would absolutely lead to protesters being brutalized.
It's all a nightmare. And it's happening. And it's one of those things you're like, it's not going to happen. And it happens in a slightly different way than you thought, but it's going to happen.
Black Mirror, buddy. Black Mirror.
I didn't think that Wally was going to be the one brutalizing us.
Yeah, Wally's going to be like, give me that fucking plant.
Okay, you can have it.
Is there anything more of a typical Southern drifter thing to do than live in an alcove above a Walmart?
And this character, it's very fun to see Loki interacting with this character, which we realize later is not Loki, which is weird because it's acting like Loki.
I mean, to be fair, she is acting like the Enchantress, who is a typical Asgardian villain who are all very theatrical and Shakespearean.
So part of the mythos of the Asgardians is that they all act like English teachers.
Yeah, pretty much. This was written by Stan Lee. So literally, they are all doing like, forsooth. Like, all of that shit, you know, it's fucking, the original Thor comics are just him, like, going like, forsooth, and like fucking throwing hammers and shit. It's all very fun, but it's all very, you know, surface level English shit.
So Variant, what we now know to be the Enchantress, doesn't like being called Loki, wants to go by Randy.
When English people say lieutenant for lieutenant,
I hate it.
I can't even do. When they say schedule,
I'm still mad that they say colonel when they mean colonel. What is it about military ranks?
So long.
What is it about military ranks?
So long.
That the letters in the word don't relate to how the word sounds.
Because when you say it wrong, they get to make fun of you.
Count Chocula, or how it's spelled, major.
Really? 8 to 10 seconds is all anyone needs to make a major decision.
Beyond that, you're just trying to rationalize the decision you've already made.
I did love that they just used all of the established brands. Alienware is going to last until 2050, buddy. That hardware bubble's never going to pop.
I mean, look back 50 years at the company that existed then and that exists now, and obviously Alienware is one of our most hallowed brands. That much like Maytag or Kenmore will be around 50 years from now.
I can't wait to get that Razer mask. Did you see the Razer mask?
No.
Yeah, buddy, it's got so many LEDs.
When we look back from the future, what they're going to make the most fun of how obsessed we are with LEDs. If you are making a YouTube video right now and you have LEDs in the background, the extent to which people are going to laugh at you in the future, it's unmeasurable.
They are going to make fun of the PS5.
I don't care, because the only game I care about on this platform is going to be released on the PS4.
PS4. You don't even care about getting that 60 FPS, do you?
Why would I need 60 FPS?
30's fine.
15, who cares? I want somebody like hand cranking it like it's an old 1920s film.
IBOs, baby. They're back.
Do they listen to this podcast? Do you know how many times we've referenced Sony IBOs on this?
Because everybody growing up in the late 90s, early 00s saw IBOs and they were like, I want an IBO, even though they didn't do shit.
Are they merchandising with this show? Can I go get an IBO right now?
A Loki branded IBO?
Is there going to be an IBO crawling around this room while we're podcasting next week?
I mean, listen, Sony and Disney have a decent relationship going these days.
That is an interesting point.
Yeah. The supposed Loki variant pulls back her hood, and we see she is a blonde lady with a weird little crown, so she's definitely the Enchantress.
Whenever you see a dark-haired person versus a blonde one, I'm like, spy versus spy.
Yes, exactly.
This is
supposed to kill each other.
Man versus woman, black hair versus white hair, spy versus spy. I'm excited. I'm glad I turned to the second to last page in this Mad magazine.
So she drops a bunch of time bombs across the timeline, and in the readouts in the TVA, it shows all of the places that have been exploded, and we get like fucking New York, we get like Xandar from fucking Guardians of the Galaxy, we get Titan, which is where Thanos is from. So this is set up for Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, fucking because it's all one big TV series.
So I have to ask, because you have... especially during WandaVision, you're like, this is clearly a setup for blah, 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 blah.
That was a setup for Multiverse of Madness as well. Wanda's going to be in it.
Well, Wanda's going to be in it for sure. Yeah. But are all of these shows just setting up the same movie?
These two definitely are. Falcon and Winter Soldier set up Captain America 4.
A little more
I think
directly.
Miss Marvel is going to set up more of the stuff in the next Captain Marvel. But yeah, a lot of these are definitely segueing into the big movies.
The Marvelous Mrs. Marvel is setting up season 2 of Hacks, which I've watched all of and is very good. I feel like I liked through the first 8 or 9 episodes more, but then they do that thing where they have to like wreck some of the progress they've made so that they can set up the second season. Mm-hmm. And anytime a show's about the relationships between people, they have to like introduce more conflict at the end of the first season so that you're like, how will they resolve it in the second season? And it's like, they won't.
Yeah, you have to artificially introduce drama into your relationships, which is why I'm going to hit you in a few seconds.
Don't do that.
I'm going to hit you. Drama, isn't it?
And I need to, before we do next week, I am going to go through and like freeze frame every episode, every element of the opening credits, every element of the ending credits. It's going to be a delight. There's so much interesting stuff in there. I love it. This is the only good MCU show.
I hate this fucking MCU show. I hate it. I can't believe it sets up other things in the MCU. Why can't it just be its own standalone freestanding story?
Yes. That's where it's obviously going to end up eventually, but let's see how long.
We'll see. We got 4 more episodes left.
We got 4 more episodes left, and that has been season 1, episode 2 of Loki, The Variant.
On Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus. You can find us on Twitter at Boys Gore Swords. By the way, hit us up there. Let us know if you have any fan theories. Let us know if you have any comments or corrections. We'll bring that up. Follow Ivan on Twitter at Ivan_Hernandez.
I love that you had to fucking access that rote memorized part of your brain. I love it. And you can find Red on Twitter at Red_Scott.
Bye.
You! So yeah.